Hello, thank you for joining me today. I'm Amanda Fowler of Inspiring Inkin. Welcome to my craft room. In today's video we're going to be making this card. It's an Eclipse card, which means you've got stamped images and they're popped out, giving this lovely effect. I do have another couple of variations to show you, different colourways, because they are the cards that I made for my mother and my mother-in-law for Mother's Day. So you can take this basic idea and use it to put all sorts of names or phrases on your cards. So let's turn the camera around and get crafting. So before we get started on our pink version, I just wanted to share with you these two cards. Now these cards have been safely delivered to my mum and Brian's mum, my mother-in-law, but two variations, two different sets of colours. This one is crushed curry and Cajun craze, and this one is balmy blue and blueberry bushel. On the see more on YouTube, or if you scroll down if you're on my blog, I will put the colour combinations on there for you as well if you like these ones. But we're going to go pinks and purples as I showed you earlier. So let's get those put to one side and get out the colours. So for the leaves, we've got Old Olive and Pear Pizzazz. We've got Gorgeous Grape, Highland Heather and Flirty Flamingo. The dies that I'm using are the large letter framelets die. Now they are a considered purchase, I quite understand that, but you are going to use them forever. They're going to be brilliant for doing as I'm doing now, which is putting a name on a card, for initials, for tags, all sorts of different things. And if you're a scrapbooker or a memories and more person, you're going to love these alphabets as well, with or without the stamp set that coordinates. So I only need for this card the M and the U, so that's good. And then the stamps that I'm using are Painted Harvest. We're using the Sunflower Daisy type stamp. What else have I got? The Subtles Embossing Folder. Again, this is something that you, until you use it, you really don't realise how fantastic it is. It just gives like a linen effect on the card. Let me just bring this in and I'll bring this in to show you. It gives you this lovely linen effect, and it's just enough texture just to make a difference, but actually it's amazing, and adds a great deal to your card. So that's a definite must-have. I have used the foam strips to raise the letters up, and I've used the envelope punch board. Now I'm not actually going to show you making the envelope today, but the card is a 6-inch card. You need a 9.5-inch piece of cardstock, and you just follow the instructions, but I will put a link to my video about this particular envelope punch board. Right, shall I start again with that sentence? Okay, I will put a link in the Seymour and on my blog to a video I've done about the envelope punch board. So just so that you can see how it works. It is fabulous if you make different sized cards, so you can get an envelope. And I've just used Whisper White 12x12 cardstock for this. But it does give some protection to the card, which I really like. But the envelope punch board, you can make boxes and all sorts of things with it. But just so you know, that's what I use to make the envelopes. Okay, so shall we get on with some stamping? So we're going to need a foam mat. This is a photopolymer set, so I'm going to pop that underneath for the stamping. The cardstock that I'm using for the stamping is Whisper White, and it's a 5-inch square. And just to give you all the measurements actually whilst I'm doing that, this Gorgeous Grape layer is 5.5 inches square, and then the Flirty Flamingo is 6 inches square. So that's kind of how it's going to go together. Okay, So I am going to start the stamping. So I've got all of my stamps mounted. As you can see, the photopolymer has gone a bit pink, but that's just kind of how it goes. So I'm going to start with the flowers. So Highland Heather is going to be the base layer. That's the lighter purple. And then Gorgeous Grape is going to be the top layer. And I'm going to bring in the box just to show you. This stamp set is a watercolour effect stamp set. So when you see it stamping, it's going to look a bit blotchy. It's not going to be a Stampin' Up super crisp image. Don't worry about that. That is the look that it's going for. And once you've over-stamped and done the centres and things, you'll be amazed at how fabulous it looks. But you just have to go through those stages. So don't worry, in a minute it's going to look blotchy. So I'm going to start with the centre flower, just so that I can kind of get it in the right position with the other flowers. So I'm just going to bring that down there. And then down there. Okay, so that is the base layer. Then I'm going to go over with the Gorgeous Grape. And it doesn't really matter where you overstamp it, just kind of over the middle-ish. Look, that's just so cool. It's just such a great effect. Doesn't it look pretty? Okay, now I'm going to do the flower centres. Now, I tend to go over them a couple of times, just because I just like the depth of colour. Obviously you can leave them like this, which is quite pale, but I'm just going for a bit more oomph with these. And then I'm going to use the Gorgeous Grape, these tiny little dots, just to put in the centre there as well. And then just do a few stamped off dots just to add in a bit more interest. There we go. And then I'm going to just put 3 leaves on here, and I'm going to start again with the palest colour. This is the background leaf. So I'm going to have one there. This is Pear Pizzazz I'm using. One there. And actually I'm going to go one kind of in the centre there. And then Old Olive is the darker colour. And this is the more detailed stamp. And I'm just going to hope that my head isn't going to get in the shot. Actually, what I think I might do is stand up, because I can look over the top. That's better. And that one. Okay, so that is the stamping for the front. I'm just gonna stamp the inside. So this is again Whisper White, and it's 5 3/4 inches square. So 5 3/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches. And I'm just gonna put in there some extra dots, and then we'll just do a leaf coming down this way. There. Oh, look, got ink on my fingers. I've got a smudge. Okay, a smudge is not a disaster. So let's put another little bit of a flower. Let's put that sort of there-ish. Nobody will ever know. They'll just think it was designed that way. There you go. That's fine. Right. Let's just just to rub that ink so it's dry. So that is all the stamping. So I can get rid of my mat. I can get rid of my ink pads. It means I'm not going to get smudges everywhere. And the stamps. Okay. Right. Okay. So this card actually is almost finished. So the first thing that we've got to do is we've got to cut out Mum. So what I'm going to do is put these letters, and I'm just going to double check the positioning of them just to make sure that it's going to fit. So, because obviously I've only got one M, so I'm going to cut it twice on the Big Shot. Now, I am using the magnetic platform, and the magnetic platform is brilliant because what it does is it obviously magnetizes the letters and actually holds them down. If you don't have one of these, then you can use a piece of washi tape or a post-it note, something like that, and that will pin it down. Just make sure that whatever you use is really low tack, because you don't want to ruin what you've just stamped by it not by it pulling some of the stamped image. Okay, so I'm going to pop that on. Just going to give it a quick wind through. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the U there, and I'm going to gently lift this out. Try not to tear the little bits. Come on. There we go. So that's all there. I'm just going to move it so it's just back in place. And then I'm not moving the U at all, and I'm just going to put that on. I'm going to stand up again and just look from the top and just make sure it's straight. And then I'm just going to run it back through the Big Shot that way. So I'm going to use the Big Shot again in a minute, but I'm just going to get these letters out first. So there's your first M. And your U. And then your other M. Obviously you can use a pokey tool or anything, but they do cut really, really well. So they're quite easy to get out. Just pull that last little bit. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to leave the letters flat, but I'm going to use the Subtles embossing folder to give the background some texture. So I'm just going to line that up, and then it's going on the Big Shot platform. Now this is one of the dimensional embossing folders, so you only use one plate, one clear plate on the top, because it's so thick. Okay. Alright, so we can get rid of the Big Shot on the floor. And there we go. There is the texture. I just love it. It's so pretty. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble the card. And when I've assembled all the card, then I'm going to do the letters. So we'll just get the inside done first. This is a brand new Tombow. I have learned when I am filming, I open a new Tombow every time because it's just quicker. You don't need to see me doing this, shaking the Tombow down. But like you, that's what I do. But there is something amazing about a brand new Tombow. So there we go. So this is a bigger gap than the gaps that I normally put on my projects. Normally I have a 1/4 inch gap. This is actually a 1/2 inch gap. But I've decided it just makes everything stand out really well. Okay, so with this piece, you've got lots of little elements. So do run your Tombow down them because you don't want them to lift up. Don't put too much on because obviously you don't want glue oozing everywhere. But just put a little bit on. Okay, so then that is going to go there like that. And actually, that looks really cool anyway. But once you've got the dimension on it, it will look better. Okay, and there's the inside. So we're going to use the foam strips. Now I am sure they have probably got a proper name, which escapes me, and I don't have a catalogue in reach to be able to tell you. So I will pop on the screen what they're actually called, but they're actually designed for shaker cards and that kind of thing. But they are brilliant for this because obviously they're quite thin, but they're quite dimensional. So if I was doing this without ordinary dimensionals, you can see I'd have to do like 2 or 3 layers. So it's much better to use this. I'm just going to use some of these edge strips as well. So let's pop that down there. And then that one on there. Okay, now because this is a long strip, I can actually go the whole way around the U. So you can manipulate it and bend it. So look. So that works really well. And then this last piece here. Now it's important that you double check which M goes in which spot. So do double check before you actually stick it down. Because obviously the whole point of the exercise is to get it so it matches. That piece is going there. And just trim it a little bit so it's not going off the edge so you can't see it underneath. We just need a little bit there. Oh, and a bit there as well. Okay, right, so let's finish this off. So I'm just going to double check that that is the right M for that spot and that is the right M for that spot, so that's good. Put the U in first because that's going to be easiest to get that off. And just make sure that you position it in the gap. And because we've got the darker colour underneath, that's what gives it the sort of eclipse look about it. So, more tape. Stick into my fingers, not... Oh, one more bit. There we go. Okay. So again, that's that one. And then this one. One more piece. Oh, I can just see that that foam is just sticking up, so I'm just going to snip that off, move that out of the way, and wiggle that in, and there we go. There it is, all finished. So a really quick way to make an Eclipse card, and you can sort of see all the dimension there. This is obviously the pink version. Let me bring in the blue and the orange. Obviously these two are similar but not quite the same. This is much lower, this is more central, and then this is all covered over. So you can have a lot of fun with your stamping and how you're going to lay it out. I hope you've enjoyed today's card. If you'd like to purchase any of the items that you've seen today, if you scroll down, whether you're on my blog or on YouTube, you'll be able to see links to my online store. I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.